Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Q&A for Biofield tunings and vocal sounding. Awaken long-forgotten potential for emotional alchemy, increased immunity, and true self-embodiment. I'm Carrie Hernandez with the Shift Network, and it is my pleasure to be your host as we explore the teachings of Eileen McKusick and address questions about her upcoming course, which begin on Tuesday, September 15th, at 5 p.m. Pacific. And if you're unable to join us live, you can still participate in this course, and I'm going to be explaining more about that later. But first, I want to introduce my guest. Eileen McKusick is a researcher, writer, inventor, practitioner, educator, and speaker on the effects of audible sound on the human body in Biofield. Eileen, who has an MA in integrative education, has been researching sound since 1996. She is the originator of Biofield Tuning and the founder of the Biofield Tuning Institute. She's the author of award-winning best-selling book, Tuning the Human Biofield, Healing with Vibrational Sound Therapy, and the upcoming book, Electric Body, Electric Health. She's also the inventor of the revolutionary and much-loved tool, the Sonic Slider. Please join me in welcoming Eileen, who I think is going to lead us in a little bit of a grounding. Welcome, Eileen. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Carrie. It's great to be here with you and everyone else, too. So Carrie suggested that I get us all started with just a moment of breathing and grounding, just to kind of get everybody centered and here together in this moment with each other. So I'm going to invite you to take a breath and take a breath deep into your belly, so behind and below your navel. And then when you exhale, you're going to use your mind and your intention to send that energy out your tailbone or down your legs and out your feet or both. Just nice deep breath, and that audible exhale helps to discharge the vagus nerve. So just do a few of those belly breaths and grounding. One more together. Good. Okay, back to you, Carrie.
Thank you for that. All right, we're going to spend the rest of our time together exploring questions for Eileen as we prepare for her video course, which is Biofield Tunings and Vocal Soundings. And it begins on Tuesday, September 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And you can visit our website, soundalchemyadvanced.com, to learn more about this 10-module advanced course, and you'll find a link to register. And let's get started with our questions. We have so many, and Eileen, I kind of want to group a lot together. So first of all, can you explain to us, what do we need in order to show up for this course, as far as, do we need tuning forks, and can you just let us know what we can expect?
Sure. So the primary action that's happening in this course is I'm going to be using my tuning forks like I do. I'm going to be doing Biofield tuning, maybe in a slightly different way than you've seen me do it before. And what I'm asking you to show up with is your voice, and that's it. That said, as a bonus, we did offer a 20% discount on our Fibonacci forks. And these are 89 hertz and 144 hertz. When you use them together, they create the binaural beat information of the golden mean, the golden ratio, also known as phi. It supports beauty, truth, order, harmony, and geometry. And so those forks are optional. I use them on my body. I use them a little bit in the field, and I give instruction on how you can use them at home as well to support your process. If you have a sonic slider from a previous series with me, you can use the sonic slider in that place. So they're just something to augment your experience, but they're not required. And this is not a course on how to use tuning forks, just so everybody knows that. You'll see me use some forks, but I'm not there to teach you how to use forks. This is an experiential experience for you to have and to heal and to get stronger and healthier, more vibrant, not to learn how to do biofield tuning.
Thank you so much for that clarity. So, sounds like you said we're going to be using our voice as well. Like you're going to be teaching us that method, and we won't necessarily need to be having tuning forks, correct?
Exactly. Correct.
Great.
You do not, they're optional.
Optional. Love it. Okay, so I have a question here from Kathleen who asks, what if two sound sliders were activated at the same time? Would it be more effective?
So I think what you mean is sonic sliders, right? Not sound sliders. And yeah, I mean, I think two is often better than one, with all kinds of different things. I have two sonic sliders. I've used them both at the same time. And yeah, I mean, and that's part of the point of the Fibonacci forks too, as a pair. I originally wanted to make another fork to go with the sonic slider that was, the sonic slider is based on the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz. It is the 12th harmonic, so it's 93.96 hertz. I tried the 11th harmonic and the 13th harmonic as possible companions, but the fact of the matter is that those three frequencies kind of ended up being like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, where the 11th harmonic was too heavy and intense, and the 13th harmonic was like kind of neurotic and overstrung, whereas the 12th harmonic, which is the sonic slider, is just right. So that is a standalone fork. It doesn't work in a pair, but the Fibonacci do. But two sonic sliders together absolutely work, and there's lots of people out there who use two at a time.
And I'm one of them. So I appreciate that. No, great. Thanks for the clarity, because I wasn't sure quite if she was asking about the Fibonacci or actually using your sonic sliders. So I think that will cover either way that she was asking. My next question, we actually have a few people asking if you can use different sound making instruments such as a Tibetan bowl or drums or guitars. Do you have thoughts on how those techniques might work in this course?
I mean, absolutely. How you choose to respond to the exercises that I do in the modules, and then the homework, because homework is actually a pretty integral part of this experience. Like, you're going to get a lot more out of it if you practice your homework every week. And you can absolutely bring in your own instruments. If you want to shake rattles while you're doing it, if you want to bang bowls, if you want to activate tuning forks, you can, whatever is going to support you to express with your voice, you're absolutely welcome to bring that into the mix.
All right. So next, Neil is asking if we will be learning techniques that you can use by yourself without assistance, or will these techniques be basically what's being transmitted?
No, it's all about teaching you techniques. It's all about giving you exercises that you can practice. Like in one of them, we hum and tone a little bit from each of the energy centers. So from the root, from the sacral, and then you can, while you're washing dishes, you can be standing there going, and just sounding the different notes. They're very, very simple exercises, but if you repeat them a bunch, it starts to really bring your voice into your body. This is all about discovering how we can play with our own voice and our own body. How to play with our own human instrument, which is actually one of the greatest joys that we can experience. And also has the potential, when we learn to really move sound around our body, to heal ourselves from the inside out. So this is all going to be like big takeaway from you, as long as you apply it. The transmissions that I'm doing, there will be some releases happening with the tuning forks. I'm toning, but I'm not toning with the intention of my tones going through the airwaves and like healing you, because I want you to be working on yourself with your voice from the inside. That's what it's really about. The tuning forks are just to help to bring us there, to loosen us up.
All right. We have a couple questions here that are asking about your teachings, which you were just talking about. And can you explain how you're able to work on our group field, everyone at the same time, through your transmission?
Sure. I know that that's like the whole distance group thing is really hard for people to wrap their head around. And I totally get it. Like, I didn't believe it was even possible to do this work one-on-one at a distance until I actually tried it and discovered that I could. I didn't know if it was possible to work on groups one-on-one. And the very first group that I did, we didn't even have an open line of transmission. It was just inviting people to join with intention. And what was amazing about that first one was that there was like a unified experience that everybody had. We had a Facebook group, like an event. And so after it ended, people were logging on and they were sharing their experiences. And so many people felt the same big shift all at the same time, right? And we didn't even have an open line of communication. It was just intention. Here's the thing, is that even though we've been taught otherwise, we are technically infinite beings. Like, you have a focal point of you, but then you have all of these harmonics and overtones and like extra dimensions. We're all made of ether. Everything in creation is all made of the same unifying substance. Nothing is separate. Nothing is separate. It's all a field of information. And sympathetic resonance occurs in the ether. This is how people do remote viewing. The United States government had a remote viewing program for, I don't know, decades, where they taught people how to do this, to take their mind and move it into a different place, because we're non-local. And so the ether is beyond time and space. It is what time travels through. And so everything, like, and the ether's right here, it's like everywhere. And the ether contains everything that ever is, was, or will ever be. So it's like the giant hard drive, in the sky, recording every single keystroke. It's the same thing as the Akasha or the Akashic record. And it's not that hard to use our minds to travel through the ether. But what is really interesting about the ether is the way that it responds to our commands. This is how things materialize in the world. You have the initial ideas in the ether, and then, you command it to be through your word and your actions, and then things materialize. So when I command the ether in front of me to hold the information of everyone who will ever watch this recording, that data point of that individual appears in the hologram that I am working with. And so even if you weren't there when I recorded, and these are all pre-recorded, they are not live, there is no way that we can risk the stress of everyone involved to create a live program, right, for this. I really wanted to do it live, but it just isn't technologically and, feasible, especially with me being here in Jamaica. So that's how the ether works. We don't learn about ether physics in school. If you want to understand more about how the ether works, my book, Tuning the Human Biofield, and then my next book also, I really go into it and really break it down. But another metaphor that's really helpful for people, I think, is, have you ever listened to a recording of a piece of music and been really moved by it? Had an emotional state shift as a consequence? Did you need to be there in the studio while that recording was being recorded in order for it to move you? No, right? Music sound is timeless, and it's timeless in our ability to reach out and to move us. So that's another part of it, is that just by listening, you are in the moment of the spirit of that when it was recorded, and you feel it. So hopefully that helps. If people need more clarification, I can try to do that as well, but hopefully that's enough for now.
Thank you. And I think your analogy of the recording of live of music is so great, because it's true. We can be so affected, and it's a recording, right? So I think that makes it really, really clear. And also I wanted to mention, Indeed, we have your teaching modules, which are pre-recorded. However, you will be joining us live for our Q&As for each. So I want to make sure we have that balanced component.
Yes, and I watch, I hang out and I watch the transmission. I receive it, like everybody else. So I'm going through that experience with you, kind of adding my vibe to the broadcasts, because I'm there live watching it. And then, come on. And we do about 45 minutes of Q&A. So there's a lot of opportunity to ask questions and, learn more in that extra 45 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely, I know, Eileen, you are beloved faculty here, and I'm so grateful for, you give so much. When you just show up and you give. So I'm really grateful and excited about this opportunity. So I want to go to our next question. Let's see, it's coming. We have a couple on age. Diane asks, is it worth doing the work for people over 70? And Sharon asks, is tuning safe for children? So we have a range here of questions on age.
Yeah, I was just talking about this yesterday, about the idea that whatever patterns are in our biofields when we die, I think, if you believe in reincarnation, I would surmise that those patterns would just reestablish themselves in the next life, because this is kind of like your karma, the things that you need to work out. So I don't think it's ever too late. I don't think anyone is ever too old to gain a deeper sense of embodiment, a better sense of their own authentic voice, to clear out stuck emotions that they've never expressed. So I don't think that there's any top age limit at all. I hope to be growing and accessing potential until the day I die. I never have any intention of stopping tuning my instrument as much as I can. So, and as far as kids go, this is not heavy duty tuning. In the last series, we really went into some very heavy duty stuff. There was some pretty intense detox. Having already filmed the modules, I didn't have any detox, and I just felt fantastic afterwards. After each day of filming, it was spread out over 3 weeks. I felt lighthearted, clear, bright, like super alert and focused, almost like a puppy, like just very, very, very present, and without a lot of without any discomfort. I've been skipping up the stairs. I've been singing and dancing down the stairs. It's really, and I've been doing all the exercises too. So it's really inspired just this incredible lightheartedness. Which I've been through a lot of tuning and all that, and it all lightens you more and more. It's very cumulative. But there's something, in the evolution of my own work and my own journey, I put myself in every group. I've done hundreds of groups, put myself in every single one. The evolution just is going towards lighter and lighter, and now it's coming into this place where, the human soul, I think, is just designed to sing and dance. And the more we access our souls, the less we're resonating in the heaviness of our pain bodies, which everybody is to varying degrees. But as we start to throw all that stuff off and integrate it and get that energy supporting us instead of weighing us down, the natural inclination is this desire to kind of rise up singing. It just arises spontaneously. And so, that's been my experience of experiencing all of these modules so far.
All right. Well, Mike asks next, can you use this technique for identifying physical health issues in a person or in yourself?
Yes, in a way. I mean, the work of Sherry Edwards, I don't know if anyone is familiar with Sherry, but she had a very unique gift, has a unique gift, where she can actually hear in people's voices, she can hear their illnesses. You can tell, she's really taken it down to a science about what frequencies are missing from people's voices and what that means. And in the process of going through our bodies, and there's this one exercise, it takes until modules 7 and 8 to get here, because there's a lot of preliminary work to get us here. But we start to explore different zones in our bodies where there's discomfort. And then we start giving sound to that discomfort. We allow that to express. Whether it's physical discomfort, emotional discomfort, they're often one and the same. And in doing that, in realizing that your liver sounds like, you can go, oh wow, that's what my liver sounds like. Like that really doesn't sound very good. But what we're going to do is keep adding air to that, keep adding love and intention, and maybe some forks on it while we're at it. And then you start to have the experience of that liver sounding healthy. It just starts to sound healthy, right? So there's this whole idea of sound body, sound mind. And in sounding our bodies, we create more health and resonance.
Okay, I love that, Eileen. And now I'm thinking, like, if the unhappy liver is, what's the happy liver sound?
Well, so this is how the process works. So you initially resonate, like the tuning forks do, they resonate with the distortion. That's how I identify. There's a boat going by, so I don't know if you can hear that or not. Sorry for the background noise. I'm in an open air villa, and they're all open air villas here in Jamaica, so we can't close out sounds, which is kind of annoying. But that sounds like the sound of an unhealthy liver. That boat going by, it's kind of like bleh. So you would allow the tone to express, but then as you add air, and I'll just do it, and I'll just warn you, like, it isn't pretty, and it doesn't necessarily even sound good. But the point is like this cleaning. So I'm just gonna tune into my liver, pretend that it sounds really bad. I don't know if that disrupted your mic, but it just becomes more open, it becomes more free, it becomes more resonant. And then all of a sudden you're making this sort of clear, loud tone. But you can spend time humming there, the more you can express the ick, on your way to adding air and making it more clear, the more you're improving the tone and the vibe of that organ.
Thank you so much for the example. I love it. Fantastic. And the boat was kind of a great offset of like, oh, there's that disturbing sound. Right. Our next question is from Carol. She asks, so many energy techniques are for ramping up energy and vitality, which is great. I'm wondering about sound healing techniques for bringing energy down into the lower energy centers of the body, slowing down to really help things like sleep.
I mean, absolutely. You can, sound is an adaptogen, right? So you can use it in any way. If something is running too low and too slow, you can use sound to bring it up. If it's running too high and too fast, you can bring sound to slow it down. So I've been doing some vocal exercises, learning how to do throat singing, and I've been playing around with how deep I can get my voice to go. And I discovered that when I tone in like the lowest tone I possibly can, and I do it for like 5 minutes, that really kind of it puts me in an altered state, actually, and I imagine that that's the kind of state you can almost like nod off in. It just all depends on tempo and rhythm, to get the brain waves. Binaural beats are used exactly for that, where you create a binaural beat of, say, 3 hertz, which is in the delta range, and that is the sleepy place. So you can absolutely, I mean, what are lullabies all about? It's about singing you gently to sleep. So I just personally find, as a provider, that most people are suffering from low batteries, low energy, and you can be tired and wired at the same time, where you're exhausted, but your adrenals are cranking, and so you can't sleep well. But you can sing to your adrenals, you can hum in your kidneys, you can send a lullaby to that part of your body. And this is the sort of thing we're going to be exploring, like how can you soothe your own adrenals? How can you use your own voice to soothe yourself as if you were soothing a baby? I mean, we can. We just forget about that.
You're right. We do forget about the soothing lullaby, right? How many hours do we spend in those tones to soothe? Our next question is from Maggie and asking, what about complex trauma and the reenactment of that while using this technique on our own? How do you keep yourself safe without a practitioner? Is there a danger of flooding the psyche with unprocessed material?
Well, that's a kind of a complex question, I don't think so in this work because here's the thing, is there's this whole idea of if you're going through hell, keep going. Every emotion that comes up it's just a wave. It'll come up and you might be in it and you might freak out, and your own resistance to that wave releasing is going to create way more problem than if you go, wow, I'm really feeling this trigger and I'm really in this thing, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch it because it's going to go by, because they always do. They always go by, and we can freak out about it, and be like, I'm having an experience, or you can just be like, yeah, I'm having an experience. This is a release, and if I just stay with it, it will go. So that's one thing. I mean, obviously, if you have a history of super complex traumas, it's up to you to trust your own gut sense about what is appropriate for you, what kind of support that you need, if you're going to undertake some healing. But that said, this whole process of sounding the pipes really does give us the opportunity to voice whatever that trauma is that's coming up. The reason why trauma stays in our body is because it's like a sound that we're holding. And the way that you let the trauma out is by letting the sound out, And what is getting triggered is the phonons that are in that configuration. The whole point of biofield tuning is to give voice to that, to release that energy, to send that energy out of whatever trauma it's stuck in, and dissolve it out of that, soften that whole thing, and just gently return that energy back into circulation. There's no trauma that happened in the past that's stronger than who you are right now, if that's the belief that you choose to hold and be like, even though this might feel very upsetting and uncomfortable to go through this, I know that I'm going to come out the other side, because there's no such thing as an infinite, endless emotional response. There just isn't. And the more you can surrender and just let it move through you and give sound to it, and then to find, as you're sounding whatever that trauma is in whatever way it wants to come out, you get to this point where you keep adding air, and the antidote and that clear, powerful tone of that release just arises naturally behind it. So you're kind of healing yourself in the process of going through this discomfort. You're vocalizing it, you're getting it out, and then you're coming into that place afterwards that's more spacious, it's more balanced, it's more grounded. But if people have had multiple seriously complex traumas, you always have to be careful whatever you do, and have a plan for managing. But I'd like to think that the antidote is just in the process that would stop it from being unmanageable.
Oh, thank you for that. Okay, Dana asks next, could you please speak to how your Fibonacci pair of lovely tuning forks works to balance both sides of the brain with tone and frequency, and how best to do this?
Well, you can use the Fibonacci pair. There's another pair that I created, the 54.81 and 62.64. You can use those as well. You can really use any two tuning forks on the side of your head that are off rhythm from each other and create a binaural beat effect. So, you know, and I really want to invite people, you know, people are always asking me, like, so I read an email the other day, somebody got a Fibonacci pair and it said they didn't come with any instructions. And you know, the only way that I figured out how to use tuning forks was by using them. Like, nobody taught me how to use tuning forks. I taught myself how to use tuning forks by playing with them and by observing what happened when I tried this or tried that or tried the other, right? So I am always absolutely encouraging my students to experiment, to play, to observe, to see what you notice. You might come up with a whole new way of using them that I never ever thought of. And it's very hard to do any kind of like damage to yourself just by putting weighted forks on your body. So, you know, I want to really invite you that if you get a pair of forks like this, mine have boots on the end, that you explore and that you even get a buddy and you explore using it on them and be like, how's this pressure? You know, I will tell you that whenever you go to use weighted forks on somebody else's body, that you want to use 3 times more pressure than your initial attempt. Because people always just come along and they just rest them. And that's not what you do. If you've got a pair, like, you press them and squeeze them, you know, especially in like a trapezius muscle, like you can really like dig in there. Whereas, you know, on the head, obviously, you probably don't want to be squeezing. But yeah, like, what does it feel like if I do it on either side? What does it feel like if I do it front to back? What does it feel like if I switch hands? You know, what am I noticing? What happens if I press my ear flaps closed? What happens if I come on either side of my nose? You know, like, just play, and discover what you like and you know, what you observe. So that's my biggest encouragement around that, is exploration and experimentation.
Thank you so much, Eileen. And I just love your complete guidance that that we explore. We get to know what works for us. And I love how you empower us. Thank you. Thank you. All right, I want to share that we are here with Eileen McKusick learning about her course, Biofield Tuning and Vocal Sounding, which begins Tuesday, September 15th. And you can go ahead and log on to soundalchemyadvanced.com. I'm going to say that one more time, soundalchemyadvanced.com for all the information and to register. And our next question comes from Lisa. I would like to hear a little more about carrying ancestral memories around with us. Can we use this to help get rid of any negative ones, or should we?
Yeah. Well, you know, just that language, get rid of negative, right? And that's where those are words we all throw around a lot. This idea that, you know, oh, that's bad and negative, and we just want to toss it away so we can just be all like pure and light and clean. In Biofield Tuning, we try really hard to not use the words positive or negative. You know, in part because, have you ever had an experience in your life that was incredibly difficult, you know, really maybe lost a whole bunch of loved ones all at once or whatever, but when you come out the other side of that experience, which we would maybe call negative or bad, it actually made you a better person, a stronger person, a more compassionate person, a more loving person, a more patient person, you know, a more empathic person. Right? So how can we say that any of that is like negative? However, in Module 9, we do sound the ancestors. And we go into and we invite the ancestors to join us. And we become the sounding vehicle for expressing the emotions that they could never express. And in allowing those emotions to resolve, right, then we create spaciousness. We create, you know, after you have a good cry, that there's a kind of spaciousness and a sort of peace that comes on the other side. So the fact that they had difficult experiences, and have these unexpressed tones in them it's just life, but there's a freedom that comes from being able to make the sounds that they never could. And, we're connected through the sound current, through our DNA, our resonant DNA. Remember, life is all vibrational. We're so forced to look at it chemically. But, the strings that connect us to our ancestors, that when we pluck them, resonate. They do resonate. And we absolutely, in traditional, in indigenous cultures all over the world, sound is the medium that is used to connect to the ancestors. So we're giving them and us, because it's also in our record. I know in my own healing journey, I've discovered that I had my mom's sadness and my grandmother's sadness all kind of heaped in with my own sadness. And it took a long time to clear the backlog of that weight in the field of these they didn't express. I hardly ever saw my mom sit down and weep. I don't know if I ever, I can't think of it. She just didn't. She just soldiered on. And I'm sure that, so many of our ancestors soldiered on, held it in, and the weight and the contraction of that is still in us. And so we liberate it in us, we liberate it in them, we liberate it in the sound current. We enter into just a greater state of freedom with our expression.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mel, asking if you have memories of past or parallel life trauma, does this process work for healing that as well?
Well, I'm kind of the opinion that all times are now, right? And we're working in the ether. We're working on your soul, if you will. I see the electric body, the bioplasmic body, as the same thing that, we use the word soul to describe. And so anything that you would do to your fundamental electric blueprint that is your life, right? Because when you're alive and your light is on, you're here, you're animating your body. When you die and your light goes out, your body is still there. So it's your light that is you. and that light may exist, across parallel realities and in the flow of time. But anything that shifts here is going to shift everywhere else, in my understanding of it.
All right. Our next question is from Julie, asking, what is the relationship between emotions stuck in your biofield and emotions stuck in your physical body? And can you be working on your body directly with a tuning fork to release these emotions?
Yeah, they're one and the same, right? Because the field, the body informs the field and the field informs the body. It's bidirectional information flow. Anything that's held in the field, held in the mind, held in the photonic body is going to have an absolute correlation in the physiology. However, the field is primary. And so this is why a lot of just working on the body doesn't work so much, and why when I accidentally started discovering and working in the field, why I observed such dramatic shifts in people. So, in biofield tuning, we release it in the field, the idea that magnetic fields guide electric currents. So if you've got a stuck pattern over here, off the shoulder, you've got a lot of grief, a lot of depression, a lot of loss, you got a lot of photons piled up here. There's mass to that. And that's going to create pain in your left shoulder. So you can work on the shoulder all day long, but if you don't shift the photonic arrangement that keeps pulling energy there, it's going to take longer. I think we can heal things at the physical level only, but I think if you combine field work with physical work, it happens so much faster because the underlying pattern is resolved. And then that just takes the pressure off the body because now the field is in alignment, so the body can come into alignment, and that physical issue will just resolve.
All right. We have a couple questions here about hearing loss. And Sam asks, does sound healing still work for someone with hearing loss and if they cannot actually hear the tone? And Claire shares that she wears hearing aids and is wondering if they're going to interfere with the sound experience and if she should remove them.
Okay, well, Claire, you're going to have to figure that out yourself, right? You're going to have to listen with and without and figure out what works best for you. You know, it's hard for me to answer something like that because there's all kinds of different devices out there and everybody kind of has their own experience with it. So I just invite you to trust yourself, you know, in what you figure out. And then as far as hearing loss goes, you know, I definitely think that people who are deaf would make great practitioners of biofield tuning because you can read everything just through feel. Like I can use a weighted tuning fork and go through somebody's field, not hear a thing, but read the vibration and tell you exactly what's going on. And everybody learns to do that in time. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's sort of oddly easy. So you don't need to hear it. And then as far as like a receiver not hearing well, it doesn't matter because remember what I said about that very first session that I did, the group, and we didn't even have any lines of communication open. There was nothing for people to hear. They just tuned in with their mind and their intention and they felt energy move. What's really going on, it's not about the sound in a biofield tuning adjustment, it's about how the sound is adjusting the biofield. So you don't need to hear it, and you don't need to have good hearing. I mean, there is something to be said about a one-on-one and you lying there and hearing the tonal changes, which is super interesting and useful, but it isn't necessary. So you can absolutely benefit even without hearing it well by keeping in mind that it's the adjustment that is happening.
Thank you. Bruce asks, I run tone frequencies all night when I'm sleeping. How effective is this with the body asleep?
You know, I can't really say, mostly because I'm a big fan of acoustic frequencies and you know, I'm never inclined to run a tone generator. I will say that one of my connections let me know that he was running the sonic slider frequency 93.96 hertz through a tone generator for his whole family at night, and he was reporting all kinds of benefits from that experience, that they really all noticed a difference. So you know, I just really can't speak to it because nothing that I do or experiment with. But you know, I've gotten one good report anyway. And you know, there's all kinds of different stuff out there to experiment with. It's just not so much my my lane in that department.
All right, we have time for a few more questions, but before we take those, I do want to share some details about biofield tunings and vocal soundings. You can join Eileen for this 10-week journey where you're going to explore sound healing practices to bring about profound inner balance, peace, and wellness, and learn how to speak your truth from the core of your body so you can move through the world with greater confidence and ease. The 10 model course will take place on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, and it starts on September 15th. And when registering, you'll also receive the audio and video replay. So every single recording and video replay you'll receive. You'll also receive transcripts and any other materials throughout our course, and they're all posted to our course homepage. And I'd like to remind you that we do offer a no-risk money-back guarantee on all of our courses, giving a full 2 weeks, and in this case until September 29th. To make sure you absolutely love it. And as an added option, all participants are welcome to connect on a private community group, which we host on Facebook. And really, that is a wonderful way that this course shares a lot of information and just really helps support one another in growing. And everyone who registers receives Biofield Tunings and Vocal Sounding Bonus Collection. And in this permanent collection, you'll be receiving Releasing the Psoas Muscle. This is the hips and lower back. It's a 3-part audio teaching from Eileen McKusick. You'll also receive the diaphragm. It's an audio teaching from Eileen McKusick. And when you register for this course, as you heard earlier, you'll be receiving a discount code for 20% off of the Fibonacci pair of tuning forks, should you like to get those to do additional work. And when you register by midnight Pacific, September 8th, that's today, you'll receive Energetic Repatterning. This is a 3-part audio teaching from Eileen, and you'll discover how Biofield tuning helps your system rewrite your song and change the overall tone and patterning of the stories that are encoded in your DNA. All right, thanks. I wanted to make sure I shared all that information with you. Our next question comes from Claudia. And Claudia shares, speaking up in company is also almost impossible for me. I get tongue-tied and confused. I'm told it's a disturbance in the 5th chakra. I'm wondering if anything in this course will help me in working with this.
I think that this is one of my biggest intentions with this course, is to really free your voice, is to really make it so that you can speak up and that it comes from your body, that it comes from the center of your being, that it just arises in you, and there's almost no way that you can stop it because it's just become unimpeded. We do a very deep tuning on the throat chakra. We work with the diaphragm, we get into the belly, we start really cleaning out these places, what I call your stuck pipes. And you think of the body like a pipe organ, and each pipe expresses a particular tone or note or feeling or expression. And where so many of us end up is, out of 200 possible pipes, we're running 5 of them. And we become so limited in our ability to express ourselves because of school, because of family, because of culture. All of these things have just shut us down and shut us down and shut us down and shut us down, to the point where you just don't have the mechanism in place to speak up because you've been so shut down. And none of that shutting down was your fault at all. I personally got massively shut down. It's taken me 30 plus years, to really start to experience a much greater sense of opening. It's not the easiest thing to do. What I'm intending to do, what I hope that this program does, is provide a big shortcut for you so that you don't have to spend decades like I've done figuring out how to liberate the human instrument and be able to be free to express ourselves. I think here's the thing, is that by our word, we create our life. Okay? That is how we materialize things into being, because the word is creative. I know that if you guys are showing up and you are watching me and you are interested in this, you have a strong desire to create a better world. And that happens through us standing up and using our voices. We've all been so taught that we're powerless. I remember when I was 18, 19, when I come out of high school, been through the whole system, and I was beat down, I was depressed, I was miserable, and I felt so powerless. I felt like there's nothing I can do. There's nothing anyone can do. And if you've seen what I've created in the body of work that I've done, I would say, wow, I have made a difference. I've helped get people out of suffering. I've helped liberate people towards greater health and freedom. There's nothing to say that you can't do the same. That every single one of you has the ability to use your word to create a better world. And the more embodied and open and confident and free you feel to use your instrument to express that creative speech, the better off we're all going to be. So this is my desire, is to help bring a better world into materialization through individuals speaking from an authentic place where they are bringing their own gifts to the table. I believe that every single one of us, between all of us, we have all the solutions inside of us. They just have to come out. And they come out through our word, through our courage to express them. There's so many amazing gifts just waiting to be shared with people. There's so many amazing materializations that want to happen in the world, but people need to have the courage to be vulnerable, to step into that act of creation and to feel empowered in doing that. So, if we come out of this series and you feel like, wow, I can actually speak up in my family and feel heard and be responded to appropriately, then we've accomplished what we set out to do.
Thank you. So that was so inspiring. Thank you. That's a beautiful call to step into ourselves. Thank you. Our next question is from Diana. And Diana, hi, Elaine. Excuse me. I think she means Eileen, but I'm just reading. I've experienced incredible healing from your recorded distance session, and I'm considering this new course and excited that it's packaged with the first course on emotions. My question is it safe to complete all 7 of those modules from the previous course in the 2 weeks' time, or do you have any recommendations about our pacing as we do them in preparation for this course?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a tricky part because those 7 modules are pretty intense. In fact, I even got taken down by the 6th one and went into like a 5-day detox myself, like the biggest detox I've been through in years. And a lot of people also had that experience, as particularly with that module. I don't think, in order to appreciate the work that we're going to do in this course, it doesn't feel to me like it's so necessary to get through those quickly, whereas last year, the second one really built on the first one because we went up the body and then we went back down. And so it was a good idea to have done the other series. I would do my best to take that other series easy. And give yourself at least 3 to 4 days in between. And you can do it concurrently with this one because like I said, this one it's just not heavy duty so much. The only one that might produce a little detox might be when we work on the psoas and the belly and the pelvic floor. That one might. Any of them might. I really don't know. Everybody's different and everybody responds differently. But I would say don't try to cram in all 7 of those before you start this one. I would listen to them at your leisure with a minimum of 3 days between each one, and you can overlap with this other series, no problem.
Great. Thank you for that clarification and pacing. Dawn is asking, what about training the dragon, teaching the liberated voice to dance better? Do you have any words on this?
Well, that's really more into the next series, right? I'm not a vocal coach. And I'm not teaching you how to sing. Like, that's not the point of any of this. What I'm doing is I'm inviting you to get your instrument ready to sing. I'm inviting you to get to know your instrument, to explore it, to discover what happens when you move around your diaphragm, you move around your pelvic floor, you sound the pit of despair. This is really about tuning and toning and getting this whole instrument ready to play. And then, and then there are other people who are more qualified than me to help you now that you're like, wow, I actually feel like more comfortable in my instrument. I actually feel ready to start getting some more vocal instruction and how I can now use my voice more towards songs. That's somebody else's department. So this is really about, we're taking a beat up old pipe organ and we're oiling it and we're greasing it and we're exploring it and we're loving it and we're practicing on it, but we're not necessarily singing yet.
All right. Our next question is from Kristen asking, I just had bilateral mastectomies and breast reconstruction using my own tissue. So my question is, do you think it would be okay to use the sonic slider along these healing areas right away, or should I wait a while?
That's another one of those questions where I would say try it just a little bit around it, and see what you notice. Try it just a little bit on it and see what you notice. Just little dabs. And if it feels good, do a little bit more. Be curious about how your body is responding. If you go to use a sonic slider on a pet, for example, if they dig it, they'll hang out and let you use it until they're done, and then they'll go away. And if they don't dig it, they're going to let you know right away by leaving. Your body is an animal. Your body will tell you if it wants you to keep doing that and be like, oh yeah, that feels good, or if it feels like a little too shocky or a little too uncomfortable, right? So just see how your body responds. And, and then as time goes on, you can explore a little bit more, try other things, and just let your body dictate to you what feels appropriate and trust it.
Thank you for that guidance. And you're right. My dog just loves to roll over on her back and be like, yeah. So that's great advice. Eileen, what are you looking most forward to in sharing in this class session for those of you that are going to be taking the journey with you?
I really loved filming this series. I have to say, because it's doing stuff I've never done before. It was a little outside my comfort zone, a little bit of a stretch to teach stuff that I've been learning and practicing for a while now, but actually haven't had the opportunity to share. And I love how filming it and how I'm anticipating watching it has made me feel. I really feel like I'm like living in a musical, very much singing more and more and more just spontaneously. And the thing is that when you're hanging out and you're singing, you're not thinking garbage. You're not sitting there like fussing about something somebody said or did or didn't do, or, you're not, your Biofield isn't all in a bunch being fussy. And that state is something that I think, we all find ourselves in, at various points during the day. But when you're just whistling while you work, while you're humming, while you're driving, while you're singing, while you're doing the dishes, you're not blah, 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 talking smack to yourself. It's just a much better input and an experience to be having, to be engaging with the spirit of music, to be engaging in the spirit of dance, to be, in this sort of lighthearted, just like a bird singing, just it's very liberating. And I think that because life is so heavy right now, gosh, guys, it's just so heavy that anything that we can do to make ourselves more lighthearted and bring just a little more lighthearted energy to the world around us, and the ability to crack a joke in a heavy moment that's appropriate and makes everybody laugh, or, I feel also incredibly syntropic. I have so much energy. I'm, so focused and organizational and just in that experience of syntropy of being an order creating, organism. And there's so much entropy going on. There's people who are getting sick and stressed and losing it all over the place. So the more we bring syntropy into folks like you, who are like, I want to heal for me, but it's going to affect everybody around you positively as well. Because, I hate to say it, but, those of us who are healthy are going to have to be picking up the slack for those who aren't. And we want to be able to do that in a way where we feel open-hearted and patient and, can do it in a state of grace to the best of our ability. And when we're nourishing ourselves with our own voice every day, singing to ourselves, humming to ourselves, playing with our instrument, it just helps give us the energy to keep going. It's free, it's there all the time. And I want to really support you in being able to access that.
Thank you so much. It is always such a joy just to hang out and have this conversation with you. I really enjoy it. And I thank all of you for joining us. Biofield Tunings and Vocal Sounding begins on Tuesday, September 15th. And again, you can visit soundalchemyadvanced.com. That's soundalchemyadvanced.com to learn more and register. And if you do so by midnight, September 8th, that's tonight, you'll receive the special bonus, which is energetic repatterning. It's a 3-part audio teaching from Eileen. And Eileen, do you have any final words for our listeners?
Let's see, do I have any final words? Well, there's so many different approaches out there to using sound. There's so many wonderful healers, like Shamini Jan is doing a course on mantras right now. And, I know that there's a ton of information out there. There's a lot to choose from. I think that what I'm offering here is really unique in that there's no wrong notes, there's no mantras to memorize. It's a real sandbox experience of play, of discovery, and it's safe. This stuff is simple, but it's powerful and effective. And there's no putting you on the spot, in any way to perform or, it's an opportunity to be as messy as we want to be. And in that messiness comes that liberation. So I think it's going to be fun and super useful for helping you to reclaim your voice.
Thank you so much for that invitation. And I just love how it's just the invitation to come experience it, truly be present. Thank you so much for this time together.
Thank you, Carrie. It's always a pleasure to meet with you. And I'm happy to learn that you'll be the host for our series. So we get to hang out with you for the next 10 weeks, which I always enjoy.
Oh, thank you. Me too. I'm so looking forward to it. All righty. So I thank everyone for joining us today. And on behalf of all of us here at the Shift Network, I wish you well. And I look forward to having you on this course or one in the future. Thank you so much.